What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to another video. Please like, comment, and subscribe because it really helps me out, and I genuinely appreciate it. In this video, I'm going to be talking about gossip that goes on in the merchant mariner industry. So let's just get into the video. Listen, I know you guys have done research on this industry, and from the outside looking in, it looks like a very manly job, a very stoic job, very hard job at times. And it is sometimes, it really is. But don't get this confused from any other 9 to 5 job. It is high school just with older people. All right. But don't think you're going to come to this industry and think like this is some heralded, um, prestigious, top of the pedestal job where people sit up here and walk the straight and narrow line and it's all this form and structure. It's really not like that. It's not. Um, People gossip on these ships, particularly in the deck department and the steward department. Um, as a matter of fact, 7 times or 8 times out of 10, maybe even 9 times out of 10, the majority of drama that you're going to hear is going to come from those two departments. Why? Because you have to communicate all the time with the people that you work with in your department. You have to. Majority of the time. I'm in the engine department, and in the engine department or the engine room, it's very loud down there. You always have to have on, or for the majority of the time, depending on where you are, you have to have in earplugs, or you have to have on, those 3M earmuffs or some kind of earmuffs because it's very loud. The engine is whining, it's roaring, you have the generators going, you have the air compressors going, you have the boiler going. It's just a lot of noise and loud noise at one time. You always have to have your ears protected. And nobody who's working in the engine department is going to stand shoulder to shoulder with another guy or girl and basically scream into their earplugs or earmuffs to try to have a conversation. It just doesn't make any sense. Nobody has time for that. And then on top of that, depending on what position you are in the engine department, everybody has their own job that they have to do. And they're always doing it or usually doing it by themselves. The only time we get to really sit down and have a conversation or speak to each other is when, it's coffee time or break time, or when it's, of course, a meal. Everybody's sitting in the mess hall and, chopping it up. But that's the only time. As soon as, that meal time is over and break time is over, you're back in the engine room. You put back in those earplugs and those earmuffs and you're going on about your business. You really don't have time to communicate with your fellow co-worker who works in the engine room. And like I said, gossip is a big thing in this industry. And I'm going to tell you guys a story. And I'm going to bring this all together in the end with something. So just bear with me. So on my phase 2 ship, or my first ship, the ship that I was last on, there was this lady. I'm not going to say her name, not even going to say what she looks like because I just don't believe in doing that. But there was this lady. She was older. She was from the West Coast, and man, she was a peculiar fellow. Um, you know, when you were walking in the hallway, and you would see her off in the distance, you would always see her talking to herself. If you were in your room and she walked past your door, you would always hear her talking to herself as she walked to her room. If you ever caught yourself in a conversation with her, she would just ramble on and on and on about life details that you didn't even ask for. She would just go on and on and on just about about random subjects, and she would just bounce around to different things and different time periods in her life, and about different people who she's run into in her life, about her husband, about her son, about just about anything that you can think of. She was just a rambler. On top of that, she was also somebody who would complain a lot. Um, if she wasn't rambling to you about, you know, some specific detail or person in her life, she would just ramble and complain about anything and everybody that was on the ship she didn't like. If she didn't like something, she would tell you, then just go on and on and on about it. If she didn't like somebody, she would stop you and talk to you about it and just go on and on and on and on about it. She was very, very, very annoying. She was so annoying to the point where, the bosun, because she worked in the deck department, the bosun would have her do work, specific jobs by herself, and take the rest of the deck department with him to work with him, because everybody, and I mean everybody on the ship, was tired of being around her, even her own department. And, oftentimes you would just see her off, by her lonesome, just doing work by herself. And like when you would see it, you would kind of feel bad, because it's like, damn, like she's really being ostracized, like by the people that she works with. It was kind of crazy. And I knew it was getting to her because, she would sit around and, tell me, hey man, like I just don't understand why, everybody in my department, they work together, but the bosun just has me over here by myself, yada yada yada. And I wanted to tell her, hey, it's probably because you're kind of annoying and you complain a lot and nobody wants to be around you. But I'm not going to do that to an old lady. So I just, sit there and nod my head and, just empathize with her. I'll say it like that. So why am I telling you this story? Because check this out. Now I'm on my phase 3 ship. So the second ever ship that I've been on. And last week we have the safety meeting. And after the safety meeting, after they go through all that nonsense that everybody already knows, got it. The chief mate, he's like, hey, Chi, is this your first ship? I'm like, no, it's actually my second ship. And he asked me what ship was my first ship. I tell him my first ship. He asked me how it was, asked me the places I went to, etc. After that, he turns to the second mate and he just starts talking to him. And something just told me just to stand there and listen, because I don't know, something was just telling me just to sit there and listen to this conversation. So they just start going on and on about this lady who, the captain had to fire and let go off of the ship. And they were saying like, yeah, she was just god awful. She was just annoying. She used to just talk and just go on and on and on and on, and she used to just complain about everything. The second mate was talking about how she used to walk around with no bra on. Mind you, I didn't even know um, the person that they were talking about, but something was just familiar with this conversation. Like I've heard this before, or I've experienced this before. And they were just saying stuff like, yeah, man, like she used to ride up and down the elevator and she used to just, stare out the little window of the elevator and just look through the window like this and scare the hell out of the crew. Similar to like how, in Halloween Resurrection, when Michael Myers first made eye contact through that door window with Jamie Lee Curtis. So after they get done rambling about this lady, something just told me to ask him, just like, hey, like, what's this lady's name that you guys are talking about? Because she sounds familiar, like somebody from my last ship. And they say the name. And I'm like, man, that is so crazy. She was on my last ship. And they started asking me, hey, was she just like this on this ship? And I'm like, I'm not going to say, I'm not going to sit up here and try to badmouth the lady, but I will say that there are some similarities in what you guys are saying. Um, I have experienced those same things on my first ship, and they just start bust out laughing and all this other stuff. Anyway, I'm saying this to say this. You're going to meet a lot of people on these ships who have a lot of quirks about them. You're going to meet a lot of interesting people in this industry. And it's not just them. You are probably going to be a part of somebody's sailor story at one point or another. All I'm saying is this: people are going to talk about you. I don't care what weird thing that you have about you or weird personality trait you have about you. Um, Just make sure that you do your job. Just make sure whatever they say, I don't care what it is. You know what I mean? I don't I don't care if they say, hey man, that guy was sleepwalking through the hallway naked. Make sure they can never say, hey man, that was a lazy guy. That was a guy who never did his job. Um, just make sure you do that because people talk in this industry. There is no way that I'm on my second ever ship and I'm hearing horror stories about somebody who I sailed with on my first ever ship that I sailed on. That's insane. Like, well, what kind of luck is that? That's crazy. So I know if that can happen to her, that can happen to me, that can happen to you, that can happen to him, that can happen to her, that can happen to anybody. And it probably will. So just make sure you understand that people will talk about you. Uh, People will not be afraid to drag your name through the mud. I'm telling you, I've experienced it. Um, so just make sure you're a hard worker. Make sure nobody can say that you're lazy, and just do your job and go home, man. You know, I can't believe that they were talking about, you know, the crazy old lady who never wore a bra and would ramble to herself. That's that's crazy. So anyway, that's the end of this video. Just wanted to bring that to light. Before you come on these ships, just make sure you are emotionally mature. Um, Make sure you're not quick to anger. Make sure you have all your ducks in a row because there may be a time when somebody in the ship will talk about you and it might get back to you. It might not. I don't know. All I know is that got back to me and I barely even know this lady. And this is the second ever ship that I sailed on. So, anyway, you guys have a good day. Stay safe. God bless you. And until the next one, you guys have a good day.